Hi guys! So I haven't done a model talk in a really long time, so I thought I would do one. And today I thought I would do one about myths about modeling. People think so many things about this industry that it's just not. So I thought a really good video to do would be to just sort of like dispel some of those myths. And we just get right into it. Myth number one, that we get paid for every shoot. So every time you see a model put a picture up on Instagram or, Facebook or whatever, you might think, oh, that's awesome. She's so lucky. She got paid for doing that, and all she did was stand there and smile. No, actually, a lot of the time we don't get paid for a lot of shoots. A lot of shoots just go in our book or our portfolio. It's something where the makeup artist, the stylist, the photographer, usually none of us will get paid, and we'll just do it so that we can all put it in our portfolio. And that's a lot of images because a lot of our book usually is not what we call tears. It's not stuff that comes from magazines or anything that's actually published. A lot of it is just like things that we do creatively and things that we need, like when you need certain images to put in your book. So that's one myth that totally needs to be dispelled, is we do not get paid for every shoot at all. Most of the time, the things we do get paid for are things that are for specific companies and things like that. But if it's just an image that you see with like a pretty plain background and a model doesn't mention a specific company or magazine or something in their caption about it, then chances are that we did not get paid for that. And that happens a lot because you need to always be updating your portfolio and always make sure that you have good images that can represent you. So when you go to castings and auditions, they can see a wide range of your work, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, no, we definitely do not get paid for every shoot or like every picture that we take. Number two, the number one, I should have done this first, but the number two myth is probably the number one thing that people ask me when I say that I'm a model is, do you get free clothes? No, that doesn't really happen anymore. And I guess I can see why people would think that, because the majority of the work that we do is with clothes. But I think that used to happen a lot more a long time ago. That doesn't really happen anymore. I think it used to happen more instead of pay, you would get clothes. Now that doesn't really happen anymore. It's sort of like, if it does happen at all, it's more like a bonus prize kind of thing, but it doesn't really happen anymore. The only times, I've been modeling for 4 years now, that's only happened to me twice. Once because it was explicitly stated that we would get the rate for the day as well as we would get to choose 2 items of clothing. That was because it was for a warehouse type company. And the second time that happened to me was because I was doing a creative shoot just for my portfolio, and I had mentioned that I really liked one of the jackets that I tried on and I wanted to go buy it. And then the director of the shoot, she had just really liked the results and what we were getting. So she was like, you know what, you're doing such a good job. You can keep the jacket because I know you like it. It's only happened to me twice in my whole life, in my whole modeling career. One thing to get clothes, okay, great. It's wonderful to get free clothes. Who doesn't want free clothes? But at the same time, free clothes don't really pay your rent. Free clothes don't buy you groceries when you're struggling in a city that you've never lived in before. So I think companies and clients don't really do that as much anymore. As far as I know, it hasn't happened to me in a very long time. Another one, and this is a really, really big one, and that is that we get to fly places for free and live places for free. That usually doesn't happen. How it works is when you go to live in a certain city, the agency will usually pay for your flight, and then they will bill you for that afterwards. So it's as if, in a sense, you are getting to go there for free because you're not putting out your own money. But later on, when you do jobs and stuff, the money that you make from those jobs, it'll go towards paying back the agency first for paying for your flight and your rent and etc. before you get to actually have any of that money on your own to pay your own bills and whatever. It works the same way for your rent. So if you choose to live in the model apartment, you live there for free in the sense that you're not putting out your own money to live there, but the agency bills you every month, however much it is every month. They bill you that, and the jobs that you do go towards paying for your rent in the model apartment first, and then after all of those expenses are paid off, then you get to see your own money. So a lot of the times they just charge us rent, and we're expected to work the amount of jobs that we need to work to pay it off, and if you don't pay it off, then that goes on your account and you sort of pay it off in the other cities that you live in. So it's never really for free. It's not just oh, I'm gonna fly to LA at no expense to myself. No, you have to do the jobs to work those expenses off. Another huge misconception or myth is that we all live the high life, or it's all glam. I think a lot of things that people don't realize about modeling are the things that we probably don't share. We have extremely long days going from one place to another on foot the majority of the time, because there's sometimes no point in having a car in some of the cities that we work in. So going from one place to another for 8 hours a day, from one end of a city to another, like, sometimes it's really hard, especially when you don't know a city, trying to learn the subway and just like, but a lot of the times it's not really glam when you're walking from casting to casting. You're tired, you're sweating, either it's boiling hot or it's freezing cold, and you're going like, to 7 castings a day and just running around the city. It's really, really exhausting when you do that for like 8 hours at a time, like every single day. It's really, really exhausting to also have to fit in your workouts and somehow find like a social life. It's sort of like, it's like in that sense, it's kind of like a regular 9-to-5 job when you have those kind of, when you do like long shoots like that. Like, of course, you get really, really tired, just like any other job. This is when you travel like an hour to get somewhere and you go in there for 5 minutes and they judge you and then you walk out and you're like, oh my God, it just took me an hour to get here and they only saw me for like 2 seconds. Like, it happens all the time, but that's the nature of our job. We have to go to all these different auditions and all these different castings, and it's difficult, and it's definitely not all glam like any other job. There are awesome parts of it, and there are shitty parts of it. Like, we work really, really hard, and it's definitely not all glam. I can tell you that from like my firsthand experience. Another misconception about it is like, oh, it's like, of course you're a model, you're pretty, or of course you're a model, you're tall, or like, there's just one type of it, or there's like a modeling 101. I think just like any other job, there's not just one way to do it. There's lots of different ways to do it. There's lots of different types of pretty. Of course, I'm going to do a separate video on body image, but I think that one thing that this industry has actually taught me is that there are so many different types of, what is considered to be beautiful. You may see a girl and, she's really tall and, you may think, oh, she's not pretty. Like, how is she a model? Like, it's not about being pretty a lot of the time. It's about, sure, like having a certain bone structure and blah, blah, blah. But it's all different. It's different for different girls and for different industries, different like fields of modeling. There definitely isn't just one type of pretty or one type of girl. There's a lot of diversity in modeling, and there didn't used to be, but now there's so much more of it, and it's growing so much. So there's definitely just not one type of pretty or one type of way to model. It's different for different industries within our industry, and it's different for different girls. I think the market is completely diversifying, and it's not just to say that because somebody is conventionally pretty that they can be a model, or that because somebody isn't conventionally pretty that she can't be a model. There's a lot to it. There's so much more to it than that. And like I said, I'll do a completely separate video than that. But that definitely is a myth that like there's just one type of pretty, one type of girl, one type of modeling. There isn't. There's so many different types. It's totally diversifying, and people should know that. I think another misconception is that our life is just positive, positive, positive all the time, and we don't really face rejection. We do face rejection. We actually probably face more rejection than acceptance. I think it's just because it's like an actor auditioning for a job, or a singer auditioning for a certain gig. You don't always fit the profile, so you get rejected a lot. And I think it gets pegged as being like a really negative industry, that like telling people that they're not right or they're not perfect or they're not pretty or whatever. But like I just said, it's not always about being pretty. It's about fitting like a certain profile or a certain look, which isn't necessarily, I think, what the public thinks. So contrary to popular belief, it's not about looking this one way. So we do get rejected a lot of the time for certain jobs, in the same way that an actor or a dancer or a singer or someone else that does some other form of art that has to audition a lot would get rejected a lot. But as long as you learn not to take it personally at the end of the day, in the same way, it's not personal at all. And as long as you learn not to take it personally, you learn that the rejection is just part of the job, and there's going to be times when you get acceptance, and it's going to be wonderful, and you're going to get great jobs, and blah, blah, blah. But just like a regular job, you can't play every role in that company. You can't fit every mold. So not every type of modeling is going to be for us. Just like when you work in a company, you can't work every position. You'll have the one that fits you and that you're good at, and it's the same thing with modeling. We'll have the type that's really good for us, whether it's commercial or editorial or runway or whatever. You just have to sometimes like find your niche, just like, again, like in any other type of work. You just have to find your niche and go with it. And on that journey towards finding your niche, you're definitely going to face rejection. And I mean, we face it all the time. We cast every day, and not every girl, you're not going to get every job you cast for. You're not going to get every role you audition for. It's the same thing. You just have to, fit the type, and when you do, it's great. And when you don't, yeah, you face that rejection, but as long as you know that it's not personal and, people are just trying to do their job, and you move on to the next one, then you're fine. And last but not least, I kind of touched on this before. It's just that there's one way of doing it. So sometimes when I tell people, oh, I model for, like with my full-time job, they're like, oh, isn't that just like, you just smile in front of a camera? It's like, yes, of course. Commercially, that's the way to do it. But sometimes, you know, it's very strenuous on your body, just on your mind, even when you're doing like editorial things, or if you're doing more like fitness type modeling, or it's just different. There's not just one way to do it. It's not just, you know, oh, isn't this how you walk down a runway? No, like there's no modeling 101. It's different for everybody. And that's why I think a lot of people think that like when agencies or, you know, companies or whatever offer like modeling classes, I think those are becoming more and more obsolete as the industry grows and as time goes on, because they're just realizing how many different types of girls there are and how differently everyone does everything. And it truly is, it's different for everybody. There's not just one way you can be like trained to be a model. Like it's totally different for everyone. Everyone's going to do it differently. Any other job, everyone's going to approach situations differently and deal with them differently. So yes, in the sense that like, okay, yeah, you're behind a camera and you're smiling, you have to know the angles of your face, blah, 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 know how to move your body. It's still different for everybody, and there isn't just one way to do it. So that's something that I definitely wanted to just touch on as well. Pretty much all I have to say. Those are all the myths that I wanted to dispel for you guys. If you have any other ones that you've heard or any other things that you want me to cover, let me know, and I definitely will in another video. But if not, I hope you're having a great day, night, time, morning, whatever, whenever you're watching this, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.